child or grandchild who loves science, technology, engineering, or math, then you need to come to the Vermont Teen Science Pathways Cafe. These monthly workshops put middle and high school students together with real-life scientists to learn about the miracles of modern medicine to the reaches of outer space. Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. Vermont 4-H began hosting 4-H science cafes in 2018. Since then, the cafes continue to provide a third place for young people interested in STEM topics and put them face to face with doctors, researchers, and scientists. And this wouldn't be a 4-H event if there wasn't a fun, hands-on activity included as well. So to talk about the spring slate of cafes, I'd like to welcome Margaret Coan. She's the teacher and leader for UVM Extension 4-H, and Kate Moreau is a UVM Clinical Associate Professor who is leading the March Cafe. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having
Margaret,
us.
we're happy to have you, and we'll start with you actually. We already kind of explained a little bit about the cafes, but you know much more in depth. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the Vermont Teen Science Pathways Cafes are monthly events that we have that, as you said, we try to do hands-on science, so kids get a kind of out-of-school experience with science, something where they kind of have a aha moment, something that's fun, exciting, gives them a view of what kind of career pathways are out there. So we try to do a variety of activities, a variety of topics, so they can be introduced to a broad range of science and really STEM, so the full range of STEM topics.
Sure, and Kate's going to jump into one in just a minute, but first, why don't you said there was a range of topics. What are some examples?
Yeah, so we've had everything from sensory science to we just did one on the microbiome.
Wow.
And how research on the microbiome can be used to develop new drugs that are specific for each individual. We have ones where we're using microscopes, where we had one on ice cream where we learned about extracting DNA. So there's really kind of anything you could imagine, anything that there are professors out there or researchers doing research on, we might be delivering that topic to the youth.
Yeah, it's an incredible variety. So do you have to be part of 4-H to attend?
No, absolutely not. It's open to all youth in Vermont. They are in person, so we do hold them at UVM on campus. Sometimes they're in labs, sometimes they're in our student center, but it is open to all youth.
Sure, and is there a fee to attend?
It's free, so it's a really great accessible program for all Vermont youth.
And I heard sometimes it comes with pizza.
Actually, all the time it comes with
all
pizza.
The time. That's
all
a
the
great
time.
guarantee.
And cookies. And cookies too.
All right. And we've got a graphic showing the upcoming cafes and topics. And so while that's up on screen, I want to ask, is your goal to kind of feature topics that students might be like not encountering in class, something new for them in middle and high school?
Yeah, so we're hoping that it adds to what they're learning in school. So sometimes people kind of turn themselves off to science. Maybe they have a class they're not excited in. So this is a way to, seed that curiosity about things. So yes, it's sort of school in addition to school. So school adjacent, but not like school.
All right, and Kate, let's bring you into the conversation. You're hosting your own topic, which is great, and that's on medical lab science. So what are you going to be talking about?
So we have an exciting career cafe planned. So I'd like to start it out by giving context because oftentimes people don't know what a medical laboratory is. So I'll ask the participants if they've ever had their blood drawn before or maybe have their throat swabbed, for example. And then lead them through where do you think those samples go? And they go to the medical laboratory. And so we have a case study planned. It'll be a mystery illness, and we will take students through the symptoms to doing the diagnostic test, so they get a taste of what it's like to be a lab professional.
Great, that provides so much context for something that they'll probably already experienced or will experience soon. So
yeah, it's very, it gives them something, I'm rambling here. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. And so you're volunteering your time. So kind of what was your motivation to put in all this effort to put this together?
There are several reasons. One, as Margaret mentioned, hands-on activities are fun to do.
Absolutely.
So it's fun to engage
for
students.
For kids, for everybody.
And we are very lab-based, so there's lots of opportunity for hands-on activities. Second, not a lot of people know about medical laboratory professionals. We're the behind-the-scenes part of a healthcare team, and so we're not patient-facing. So people don't know that we exist, but we are in high demand. So students who go through our program actually have 100% job placement rate, which is fantastic. And so the more we can raise awareness, plant the seeds early for something like this, I think the better off the profession will be in the long run.
Sure. And was this an experience you got to have when you were in grade school?
I wish. I wish it was. I was involved in 4-H. I did 4-H summer camp. I grew up in an inner city, so we didn't really have these kinds of opportunities. But the adults I met through Girls Club and the 4-H activities were pretty special.
And according to the Society of Women Engineers, only about 29% of STEM roles worldwide are filled by women. And so as a woman in STEM yourself, do you feel kind of a responsibility to kind of show a new generation about your work?
I do. I don't often think of myself as a role model, but as an educator, it's part of what we do.
Absolutely.
Is to show students that there are, it's not just a linear path. There are multiple ways that you can get into different careers and professions. And I think I love working with the students, and it's a privilege to mentor them and help guide them through all of the opportunities that they have, because it's not just working in a laboratory. There's so many directions that they can go from there. And I think the more exposure they have, the more people they have to talk to about that, the better.
All right. And Margaret, kind of a similar question for you. What do you think having real scientists and real people working in these fields, what do you think is the value for kids seeing that?
Well, it makes it real, like, oh, this is maybe something I can do, somebody who's talking to me, showing me what it's like. I also want to emphasize these are well-paying jobs, so we're trying to expose youth to things that they can, have a secure financial future with, that Vermont needs, people in those fields. So yeah, seeing real people who are fun and willing to engage with them and wanting to do hands-on activities so that the youth themselves enjoy it, have fun, learn about it. I think that's meaningful for them.
Sure. And we're going to talk about some of the hands-on component in a second, but another part, you have real scientists, and also you mentioned you're using real facilities. So what do you think is the added benefit of doing it somewhere like UVM? They get to see kind of all the glamour of being in a lab.
Right. Well, you get people on campus. So if you get an 8th grader on campus or a 9th grader, they start to feel like, oh, this is my place. I feel comfortable here. So they're not, as a junior or senior, for the first time contemplating themselves as a college student or doing further education, which for some of these really well-paying fields like medical lab science, you do need to go to college. So it's making it more normal where they feel like they belong there, like it's something that's realistic for them in the future.
And now let's kind of touch on that hands-on stuff. That's something that these cafes, and 4-H obviously does really well, but these cafes highlight. So why is that so important for kids learning?
Well, we in 4-H do experiential learning, so the idea is that we learn better when we're doing it as opposed to just reading or hearing, that we're using all of our senses and a way to spark excitement and curiosity that goes beyond what we might just read or hear.
Mm-hmm. And Kate, do you have a hard time when you were putting together this activity thinking of things that were hands-on to do, or do you think it goes kind of hand in hand with STEM?
It pretty much goes hand in hand with what we do, and there's so many resources out there for lab-based exercises. As far as we're in biomedical sciences, and so there's a lot of kits. There's even recipes for mock samples. So there's a lot out there for us to kind of pull from, or just develop on our own for case studies to work with the students on.
Yeah, that's great. It's nice when it kind of lends to it as well.
It does.
Absolutely. And so when people think about 4-H, maybe it's, no, your grandmother was 4-H. What's the importance of having, it's obviously the traditional parts of 4-H and the agriculture are incredible, but what do you think is the value of including components of STEM?
Yeah, well, STEM is our future. There's, like I said, really well-paying jobs in STEM. We need more students to be deciding that that's what they want to do. It's a creative field. It's a field where we solve problems. So agriculture is also STEM, right? So for 4-H, we just have this broad range of activities because youth are going to find different sparks in different things. So we want to reach all youth. So with STEM, that's a whole range of youth that would get reached that may not with just one other topic. If it's agriculture or crafting, STEM is a whole nother area where we can get youth engaged and excited and thinking about their future and getting the professional skills that or leadership and professional skills that they'll need in their future.
Sure. And what ages can participate?
For the teen, the full name is the Vermont Teen Science Pathways Cafe. So basically age 13 through 18 can participate. So usually that's grades 7 through 12.
All right, and this is kind of a question for both of you, but we'll start with you. As a 4-H educator, why do you think it's so important to engage with UVM like this and bring students together there?
Yeah, so again, UVM is, for some people, especially if you don't live in the area, it's this kind of mystery place, this maybe inaccessible place, but really it's for the whole state. UVM is a state institution, and we want to let youth know that it's a place for them, whether they take courses in high school, which are the free courses they can take before going somewhere else, or where they realize that it is their place and they can find, there's so many, 100 plus, majors that they can choose. So it's also showing them the facilities that are for them as Vermonters.
Sure. And for you, Kate?
I think it's great because it helps them feel comfortable in an environment like that. It can be very intimidating to walk onto a very large campus with a lot of these older young adults. But I think doing something that's fun and engaging and making a positive impact as far as something new, you never know what you're going to connect with. And it helps them form a goal for what they can aspire to do and see a way of being able to get there. And I think that's really important.
Sure, and I'm sure for your cafe, you're dealing with maybe a different age group than you usually do as a professor, so are you approaching it differently?
Definitely. I used to be a middle school teacher. I
nice.
taught middle school science for a while, and so I think being able to take the hard science and bring it down to a more a simpler form, I guess, that's still relevant. We're not going to talk heavy molecules and, really get into the nitty gritty, but give a broad overview of what it's like to learn about blood cells, for example, or different chemicals that are in your blood that you can, tell causes of disease from. And so I think, bringing it down to a level that's appropriate for a 7th and 8th grader, but also challenging enough that if we have 11th and 12th graders that they wouldn't be bored. So we run a nice group dynamic, a group exercise for them where they can both work together and learn from one another.
Absolutely. Are you looking forward to it?
I love it. I've done it before.
Oh,
I did
great.
it in 2019, so it's been a while. But the students that we have coming to help are really excited. We have faculty really excited. And we have folks from the Medical Center Laboratory who are going to be joining us as well. So it's a great exercise.
So you said that there are college students joining in as well to help out?
Yes. So my students have, I'm the program director for medical laboratory science, and in their 4th year, they have to do an advocacy or outreach project. And so some of those students are going to be joining us with the hands-on activities. We'll have 5 stations set up, 1 station for each area of the laboratory. So we'll have a chemistry, a hematology station, a microbiology station.
A lot to look forward to.
A blood bank station, and something for anatomic pathology. And so we'll have helpers at each of those to guide students through the exercises.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but this was great and a lot to look forward to. Yes. So I want to thank the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX who make our program possible. I'm Jolie Whitney. This is Across the Fence. Have a good one.